It was March 12th, 1997 on a Wednesday evening. Chicago Bulls versus Philadelphia 76ers. Michael Jordan, the most feared defender in basketball, steps out to guard a young rookie at the top of the key. That rookie was 21-year-old Allen Iverson, who had been waiting his whole life for this moment. With the crowd on its feet, Allen Iverson dribbles right, crosses left. I'll quit talking, just watch this masterpiece. But to understand it all, we need to answer 3 questions. Who was this skinny little kid? How did he get here? And why was he so good? Stick around till the end to find out. To understand Iverson's fire, you have to know where he came from. He grew up in the gritty streets of Hampton, Virginia, raised by a 15-year-old single mother. As a teenager, Allen was a once-in-a-generation athlete. He was so electrifying that he led his high school to state championships in both football and basketball in his junior year. In fact, he was honored as Virginia's High School Player of the Year in both sports. On the football field, he was a star quarterback, and on the basketball court, he was a dynamic point guard. Young Iverson was simply unstoppable whenever a ball was in his hands. That bright future was nearly derailed in 1993. At only 17 years old, Iverson got caught up in a racially charged brawl at a local bowling alley, an incident that would change his life forever. The fight broke out between Iverson's group of friends and a group of other friends who allegedly shouted racial slurs. There was chaos everywhere and chairs were flying around the place, but Iverson was accused of striking a woman with a chair. Though video footage was blurry and inconclusive, he insisted he left before things really got out of hand. Nevertheless, in a highly controversial trial that split his hometown along racial lines, Iverson, a high school kid with no prior record, was convicted on felony charges. The judge shockingly sentenced him to 15 years in prison with 10 years suspended, and just like that, the prodigy from Hampton was behind bars. His sports career ended right there before it could even begin. But fortunately for Iverson, his story didn't end there, because after 4 months locked up at a facility, Virginia's governor freed Iverson in 1994, and Allen emerged from jail a changed young man. The hardship had hardened him, and he later admitted that those months in prison lit a fire inside him and taught him resilience. It also gave him an intense determination to seize the second chance he'd been given. But now, with his freedom regained, Iverson's path to basketball greatness resumed. He earned a scholarship to Georgetown University, where legendary coach John Thompson became a father figure and protector for him. In only 2 college seasons, Iverson dominated the Big East, leading the league in scoring and twice winning Defensive Player of the Year, an astounding feat for a 6-foot guard. By 1996, the NBA really saw potential in him. The Philadelphia 76ers made Allen Iverson the #1 overall pick in the 1996 NBA draft, betting on him that the undersized guard could revive a struggling franchise. When Iverson joined the league, his impact was immediate. He hit the league like a bolt of lightning, a 6-foot guard who played with the heart of a 7-footer. Night after night, the skinny kid attacked the basket fearlessly, absorbing hits from giants and bouncing up unfazed. He had a crossover dribble that was practically a superpower for him, usually leaving a trail of defenders in his way. As a rookie, Iverson averaged 23.5 points per game and won the 1997 NBA Rookie of the Year. He gave Philadelphia fans hope that better days were ahead. The league had never seen anyone quite like Allen Iverson. On the court, he was relentless. He was a scoring machine. Iverson would usually toy with defenders, sometimes even warning them a crossover was coming, and yet still blow by. And off the court, Iverson's style and attitude were just as revolutionary, and to some, it was infamous. He proudly displayed tattoos on his arms and neck and arrived at games in oversized hip-hop fashion, baggy jeans, throwback jerseys, flashy chains, do-rags, and diamond earrings. This was all in an era when NBA stars often dressed in conservative suits. Iverson's streetwise look was a cultural earthquake, but the NBA's old guard was horrified. Announcers and executives spoke about Iverson's image problem. Newspapers portrayed him as an ungrateful rebel, and at one point, a prominent commentator even labeled Iverson as the NBA's thug-in-chief, simply because of his appearance and demeanor. Allen Iverson's authenticity scared people who weren't used to seeing street culture flaunted so boldly on a global stage. Yet, Iverson refused to tone himself down. He kept the braids, the bling, the baggy clothes because that was who he was, and he wasn't about to pretend otherwise. But while there was controversy off the court, Iverson's on-court appearance only grew more spectacular. He had become the nightmare matchup for every team in the NBA, a player who could single-handedly wreck even the best defenses and humiliate even the proudest superstars. Crossing up Michael Jordan in 1997 was just Iverson's opening statement. Especially as a rookie, that's insane. Over the next few seasons, he would unleash a highlight reel of ankle breakers and scoring outbursts that left opponents and fans alike shaking their heads. No defender was safe when they versed Iverson. His crossover was low to the ground, lightning quick, and perfectly timed. It could make anyone look foolish. As Sports Illustrated later put it, Iverson transcended the move and became its poster child in the late 90s. One of his victims was Antonio Daniels, a solid NBA point guard who likely still has nightmares about what Iverson did to him. In a game during Iverson's prime, Allen hit Daniels with a vicious crossover, not once, but twice in the same sequence, sending the 6'4" guard tumbling to the floor 2 times in a row. Iverson calmly sank the shot as the crowd lost its mind. But one of the most iconic Allen Iverson moments came at the expense of Tyronn Lue, who is right now the Los Angeles Clippers head coach. Lue had played excellent defense most of the game. It was game 1 of the 2001 NBA Finals, and Iverson's underdog 76ers were up against the Los Angeles Lakers. And Lue, a scrappy young guard, had been hounding Iverson all game long. Iverson had already erupted for over 40 points in a stunning performance, but late in overtime, he saved the defining blow for last. Isolated on the wing against Lue, Iverson gave a quick fake and crossed over to create just enough space, then stepped back and drilled a high-arcing baseline jumper right over his falling defender. Lue lost his balance and fell to the floor at Iverson's feet, but what happened next is what burned into every fan's memory. Iverson stepped right over the fallen Tyronn Lue, literally stepping over his chest and his eyes never even glancing down at the man that he had just broken. The audacity to do that, it was the ultimate psychological dagger, a moment of pure swagger on the NBA's biggest stage. Iverson said, "I was in the moment, I just know he fell in front of me. I don't know how I even thought about stepping over him like that. I was just playing basketball." Iverson said many years later, he was still almost in disbelief at his own move. That stepover has since become one of the most iconic images in NBA history. And by the end of that night, Iverson had torched the Lakers for 48 points, carrying Philly to a shocking Game 1 victory in overtime. The Lakers were 11-0 in the playoffs coming in, steamrolling everyone until they ran into the answer. Though the Lakers ultimately won the next 4 games and the championship, Iverson's Game 1 heroics dealt them their only playoff loss that year. And that proved that one determined superstar could slay a giant, at least for a night. Philadelphia didn't win the title, but as Sixers fans like to say, we'll always have Game 1. Iverson's performance, capped by that cold-blooded stepover, is the stuff of legend. And Iverson's humiliation tour spared no one. Over his 14-year career, he dropped 40, 50, even 60 points on every team that dared to challenge him. In 2005, he set his personal best with a 60-point explosion against the Orlando Magic. A reminder that even a decade into his career, he could still erupt with the best of them. He won 4 NBA scoring titles, relentlessly attacking every opponent put in front of him. Even the greatest defenders found AI unguardable on his best nights. And it wasn't just scoring. Iverson could embarrass you with a slick pass or a lightning steal to a breakaway. He led the league in steals multiple times, often picking opponents' pockets when they least expected it. His hands were as quick as his feet, and his competitive hunger was unmatched. Every game was personal to Allen. If you trash talked him, he remembered, and he made you pay. At just 6 feet tall and 165 pounds, he had to be fearless, and he was. Night after night, against towering giants, Iverson proved that heart over height is more than just a slogan. It's a reality. By 2001, Iverson was the peak of his powers. He was named the NBA's most valuable player that year, averaging over 31 points per game and carrying a gritty but limited Sixers squad all the way to the NBA Finals. It was definitely a season for the ages. Iverson seemed to carry his team to win by sheer force of personality, winning the scoring title and leading the league in steals. And for all the highlight reels and scoring accolades, perhaps Iverson's greatest humiliation of all was against the NBA establishment itself, forcing the league to acknowledge and embrace a new culture it once tried to suppress. Iverson changed basketball on and off the court in ways that still show up today. On the court, he revolutionized the very style of play. He didn't invent the crossover dribble, but he popularized it like nobody else, to the point where kids everywhere were imitating his every move. He also proved that a team could be built around the small scoring guard, darting and weaving through defenses, paving the way for today's generation of explosive little guards. Superstars like Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, and Ja Morant owe a debt to Iverson's blueprint of fearless scoring. Even bigger players like Kevin Durant and LeBron James, who handled the ball like guards, were inspired watching Iverson break the mold. Off the court, Iverson's cultural impact is even more evident. Look around modern sports and you'll see echoes of AI everywhere. Arm sleeves, tattoos and braids, and players strolling into arenas in expressive outfits that showcase hip-hop and streetwear influences. Iverson turned the once ignored pregame tunnel walk into a fashion runway. Decades before league fit was a thing, he was the one who made the NBA embrace hip-hop. If you look at what some NBA players wear, especially people like Kyle Kuzma, you'll really see the fashion that Allen Iverson brought to this day. Iverson also bridged the worlds of basketball and music. He lived hip-hop culture, even releasing a rap album in 2000. He was close with a bunch of rap celebrities. You could find them at Jay-Z concerts or hanging with other rappers. And in turn, rappers name-dropped Iverson in songs, and his influence on style became the norm in music as well. He was the rare athlete whose cultural footprint rivaled his athletic accomplishments. And most importantly, Allen Iverson won the hearts of the people. He didn't win an NBA championship, but he won something perhaps more enduring: respect and adoration from an entire generation. In Philadelphia, he's still revered like a folk hero. The city embraced his flawed, authentic warrior spirit. As GQ wrote, what he did win was more important: he won the people. And in 2016, Iverson was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, a moment that officially recognized what fans had known all along, that he's among the greatest ever to play the game. Legends of the sport lined up to pay tribute. In fact, LeBron James once called Allen Iverson, quote, "pound for pound, probably the greatest player who ever played," acknowledging that for his size, nobody has ever done it better. Steph Curry said that as a kid, he wore an arm sleeve because low-key, "I've always wanted to be like Allen Iverson," Steph said. When your influence is so massive that MVPs of the next generation say they idolize you, you know you were special. But in the end, Allen Iverson's legacy is one to remember. He was a rebel who became an icon, a misunderstood player who ended up changing the very fabric of the NBA, and a player who also crossed up Michael Jordan as a rookie. Nobody else in the world could say that. But if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers and probably already hit it by now, but YouTube thinks you're going to like this video, so click on it. And if you want to join the fam, subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day.